I would like to invite Alexandra Kazaria to the stage to make the presentation of the Honorable Judge Huey Cotton. Mrs. Kazaria is a former public defender and is now in private practice specializing in criminal defense. She has been a longtime member of the Armenian Bar Association and is now a member of the newly formed Armenian Bar Association's Judicial Evaluation Committee. She has volunteered for many years as a coach in the Constitutional Law Foundation mock trial program, which I'm pleased to report has been implemented in several Armenian elementary schools already as part of their curriculum. So we're very proud about that. Alexandra, please welcome.
First of all, I'd like to say to Judge Fuji, you can tell your husband that he's not alone. Amy's team has been decimating and embarrassing my team for years, and we've never even gone up against her. I just have to hear about it from everybody else. I am honored to introduce Judge Cotton tonight. As a former public defender and the daughter of 2 lifelong civil servants, I am especially honored to introduce a man with such a rich history of community service. And it's fitting that the Armenian Bar would honor Judge Cotton, because the Armenian people have, at times, a long and painful history that informs every aspect of our lives. Thank you. Our commitment to civil action and political involvement stems from a history of oppression and stolen opportunities. History hasn't been kind to our ancestors, and we carry the scars of those memories with us everywhere we go. And throughout the years, the Armenian community has found allies and friends and members of other cultures who can identify with these struggles. Champions of their communities who show the same passion and commitment to civil issues and to their communities and community activism as we cherish as Armenians as part of our identity. Along these lines, in 2014, Judge Cotton helped establish Shades, the first teen court in the San Fernando Valley. Shades is an acronym for Stop Hate and Delinquency by Empowering Students. And it allows fellow students to serve as judges and jurors for accused students. And it allows the accused the chance to avoid criminal prosecution if they complete the student-imposed sentence. In 2015, he supervised the establishment of a community collaborative court in Van Nuys. This specialty court is designed to provide alternatives to incarceration for specific classes of defendants. Seeking to fulfill the vision of former City Councilman Zev Yaroslavsky, this specialty court seeks to help those who are willing to work for it, helping them to achieve a meaningful change of life with dignity. And it's the only court in the Valley that coordinates sentencing and rehabilitation with the Veterans Administration. The similarities and values that Judge Cotton holds to our community don't end there. Just as Armenians hold our clergy and our church dear, in 2016, Judge Cotton co-sponsored the largest court clergy conference ever hosted in the San Fernando Valley, with nearly 100 religious institutions represented. And continuing his commitment to bringing communities together, Judge Cotton also invited representatives of the LAPD to address the conference on how to respond to the challenges of homelessness in our community. Through these thoughtful actions, Judge Cotton has proven his dedication to the realization that, like the phoenix rising from the ashes in the mire, such a common imagery in Armenian culture, everyone has the ability to rise above their circumstances and become something great, not because of their past, not despite of their past, but because of it. In preparation for tonight, I asked members of our Armenian Bar Association to describe Judge Cotton in a few words. Don't worry. I see him laughing, don't worry, it's okay. It's okay. I was told that as a bench officer, Judge Cotton is disarmingly approachable, a skilled judge of judges as a PJ, and that as objective as he must be, he remains truly himself. Judge Cotton is a true friend of the Armenian community and of our Armenian Bar Association. He's a family man who was supposed to be joined by his wonderful wife, Wanda, tonight, but she gave us to him instead. And his guests, who further show his friendship with the Armenian community, his courtroom assistant, Anahit Atarian, and his law clerk, Pauline Minasyan. He's a smart man. He surrounds himself with the best people that he can. Not so long ago, one man dreamt that when two Armenians meet, they would form a new Armenia. Tonight, we are here living that dream. Another man dreamt that one day his children would come together with the children of the world and create a better place. Our friendship with Judge Cotton makes both of those dreams a reality. Thank you, Your Honor, and I present Judge Huey Cotton.
8 years ago, about 8.5 years ago, I started my career as a judge of this court. I sat on the bench, I looked out into the audience of about 100 people, I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. No words, no sound, nothing. But I always have had a little swag, so I would get up. Got off the bench, raced back to chambers, and called Judge Alice Altoon. She was then and has remained my Armenian guardian angel. After listening to her hearty laugh for a good minute or so, and she's here tonight, and I love her. Thank you. So after listening to her hearty laugh, she taught me how to overcome the fear on the bench. Just jam your fingernails into your palms and forge on. And so forge on I did. And in a sense, the rest is history. And I want to talk to you tonight very briefly because I understand what time it is. But I want to talk to you about my relationship with the Armenian community. I want to talk about students. Many, even more than I thought, are here tonight. I want to talk about staff, and I want to talk about you, the lawyers. But before I do, I want to thank Saro and Garo and that wonderful closing argument introduction. I think that's worthy of a not guilty. Thank you very much. And thank the Armenian Bar Association for this recognition. I thank my wife for releasing me to you for the night. She is solely responsible for anything I do that's good in life, and I thank her. I want to acknowledge my friend and a dear friend of this bar association who invited me to my first Armenian bar dinner, Judge Stephanie Bowick, outstanding judge, if you will. So let me just take a couple of minutes and talk about the students. Holly's talked about the mentoring programs and how valuable they are. In Van Nuys and throughout the San Fernando Valley, we pair up with CSUN, Cal State Northridge, and mentor students every year. I want to talk about a couple of them tonight. When we look at these students, the goal is we teach them about the courts and the process and that kind of thing. But we rarely talk about what they teach us. And that's what I want to focus on tonight. I saw a young man, one of my early mentees, who was looking at preparing for the law school admissions exam, his in-class exams, his job, multiple classes, peer pressure, pressure from home, all these different driving pressures. And I said, you know, we have to decide if this student can handle the pressures of law school. And
And so I asked him, I said, why don't you quit? Why don't you give up? That young man looked at me and he said, my father was a professional engineer in Armenia. And this is pre-independent Armenia. He said, my father was forced out and he came here. He had to work as a mechanic to feed his family and to keep us going. And he had to give up that professional career. And he said, but my father, who I love, has invested in me. That drive and that commitment to becoming a professional, a commitment to the Armenian community. And he said, Judge, quitting is not an option for us. And that man is here tonight. Melkon Melkonian, if you would, please stand up. To know how easy it is to embarrass him, but I'm going to give him a shameless plug. He's a PI lawyer on the rise. He's here in Glendale. Hook this brother up, okay? One other student before I move on, and that's Pauline Manassian. She's here. She just finished submitting her paper at Pepperdine Law School. Pauline, if she was a Jamaican, it would be ordinary, but she's not. Pauline has had more jobs at one time than any human being in history. She had 3 jobs, 7 classes at CSUN, and was looking for something else to do. Okay. She excelled at her classes. And all of that alone would be enough to recognize her as an outstanding Armenian student. But I mention her for this reason. See, we're judges, we're elected officials. But Pauline, on top of everything else she was doing in undergrad, took time to be a poll worker on election day. And Mayor Vera Vergoza knows how important that is. Okay, and will be as the next election comes up. But Pauline, she would get up 5 o'clock in the morning to go out and grab the ballots and get to the polling place and then speak in multi-languages to make sure that everybody got a fair chance to vote. And I said, are you lazy? Why are you doing this? And she looked at me and she said, my people, as Sarah said, appreciate what it means to not have democracy. So there's no way I sell that dream and that goal and the principle of democracy short by doing less than my best to advance democracy. And she does it with work, not with words, and I applaud you. That's the energy. That's what feeds us. That's what keeps our judiciary strong, is this give and take. You give it to us, we get strong, we give you what we have, we keep you strong. That's what keeps justice strong. But then there's a shameless plug I have to give for my staff. See, my court in Van Nuys, Department A, is unquestionably the home of Armenian hummus. Anait Atarian, who is here tonight, hands down, all due respects to the chef lawyer, she makes the best hummus in the world. And she brings it out at the strangest times. Always on a good day, you know, she'll bring it out for celebrations. But then when people are hurting or sick, and we're dealing with that within our staff right now, Anait brings hummus, a story of Armenia, sometimes very long stories of Armenia. But she brings it And I want you to know that we know that you put a little bit of that Armenian love in every scoop of hummus, and we thank you for that. You're wonderful. The attorneys. Oh, how I love the attorneys. Two quick stories and I'll let you get to your PJs. Michael and Marion is a board member, couldn't be here tonight. He's up in Napa helping his sister get ready to get married. But some years ago, Michael and Marion tried a homicide case in front of me. This bizarre case of a son accused of killing his father. Mike did a wonderful job on the case, but what struck me was not just that, but he invited his mother to come to court and watch. How many of us have done that besides Judge Boyd, whose mom is here tonight, and I think there's another mom back in the back, wonderful. But he invited his mom, and his mom sat there and watched him with such intensity, but she was glowing. It was like one of these magical moments for me. And I said, I talked to her, I said, you know, you're awfully proud of your son, and that's really good. She said, no, you don't understand. My son was raised to be a voice for the voiceless. Today, he is a voice for the voiceless. My son is justice. And that word, those phrases resonated with me for years. And it's great because I'm looking at some of Mike's colleagues back in the back who shamelessly came out tonight, and I love you. But it resonated with me. And then when Mike and Marion submitted his application to become a judge of the California Superior Court, those words still resonated. My son is justice. My son is justice. And whether it's Mike and Marion or Rafi Asfasadorian or Pauline in just a few years, I've seen her in a robe, any one of them, we have got to redouble our effort, and whether it's with with the governor of Zaragoza or some other person later on in life, we have got to let the governors know that the young, all due respect to Zavan and Greg, the young Armenian voices deserve a place where? On this bench, and they deserve it now. Finally, I want to give a shout out to the incredible young lawyers. It's sort of the sick humor of judges who kind of, don't know if the young lawyers' knees are knocking or not, but we love watching them come on. It's amazing how a simple act of requesting a continuance can be this incredible cultural moment. Or I should say creative moment. But I remember in 2015, when a young associate came into court with an ex parte motion asking to continue a hearing that was set for the next week. Now I know as the lead partner sends an associate when he wants somebody to take the bullet. I get that. So the young associate comes in and he hands up the papers. And I look at the papers and they say, the lead attorney is going to be engaged. Stop. You're supposed to give more reasons. So I said, okay, engaged. Now, somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I knew that the 100th anniversary of the March Against Armenian Genocide was happening somewhere. So it resonated back there. But it didn't connect to this event of this continuance, at least not yet. So I asked the young associate, I said, so for this partner of yours, what is the engagement? And by the way, why can't you show up next week? And he was slowly lifting his head. He figured out I could face this judge for sure. And he collected himself, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, Your Honor, we must march. I said, continuance granted. Thank you.
Judge Cotton, thank you for those inspiring words. We take that to heart with regard to the students. We also have this beautiful artwork from Student Minister, which I'll leave to you. The Armenian Bar Association, on the occasion of its annual Judges Night, proudly acknowledges the Honorable Huey P. Cotton, a decorated general in the campaign for social responsibility and the rule of law, a high-holding torchbearer of the immense and indomitable legacy of his forebears, moving those who follow closer to the constitutional vow that all men are created equal, showing us all the way to the top of the twin towers